Alright, so we're going to walk this D-lid here. This is a i3 6100. It's a Skylake chip. I've done a couple other D-lids for friends on an i7 and a couple i5s. Uh, those were all Skylake as well. I haven't done a KB Lake yet. I'm pretty sure they're almost exactly the same. So I know they have D-lidding tools that basically you're just using sheer force to separate the heat spreader or the heat sink. I've never had any issues with this method as long as you use a sharp blade. You use your due diligence. You're keeping a steady pressure. Um, you just want to make sure you're always keeping the little bit of downward pressure on the blade, so this sharp edge is pointing up towards the heat spreader. You don't want to cut into the chip, obviously. There's no transistors or anything under the heat spreader except for the physical die, and obviously that's in the very middle. So you want to make sure you don't go too deep. You don't want to cut downwards into the silicon, and you're just working your way around. You get one side as much as you can, and you move on to the next. And then here I got that side pretty good, so I'm going to try to use almost a slicing motion. It's kind of dangerous, but it's going to push up. That does a pretty good job of slicing through the silicone. And then I'm going to move on to the next edge here. Like I said, I haven't had any issues with this technique, as long as you have a steady hand and a sharp blade, it's really just taking your time and working your way through and not bending the chip or putting too much pressure. As far as the contact pads in the bottom, they're very resilient, so you just need to obviously rub some alcohol on there when you're done and get any material off of there before you reseat it back onto the board on the pins. Some people, after they get the heat spreader off, they re-glue it back on. Um, I don't do that. I've had no issues just kind of holding it down while I reapply my heatsink. And then I guess with that method, if you ever need to get back in there or reapply thermal paste or anything, it's not an issue. Um, I didn't have any, I forget the brand, but any of those like tin or metallic thermal pastes, which you're supposed to use when you delid. I just used some, I believe it was Noctua thermal paste. I did see some decrease in temps with idle, and under load I saw a couple degrees. I know this is a locked chip, but with these i3s, or I believe with Skylake in general, on certain boards and BIOSes you can overclock. So I have this particular chip at 4.6 gigahertz. Um, I believe at 1.3 volts. I'm not sure. Relatively high, especially for an i3. Um, but it's a good little chip. I have an i5 as well. But I'm just, for what I do, the i3 is fine. I can play games, edit videos, do whatever I need to do. So it's a good little daily driver. I just figured why not? I'll take the lid off this, see if I can get some better temps and get some practice. So when I get my i7, I will be doing a D-lid on that as well. But I'm getting pretty close to Getting the top off here. You can feel a pretty resounding feel when it pops off. And I think I'm almost felt that right here and here. I'm just trying to pry it off. And then my camera dies, so I have to restart it. But here comes the finale right here. Comes off pretty easy here. And here it goes. Just gotta work my way around one more time. And there it is. No damage. Clean. Just gotta get all that silicone scraped off and all that thermal interface material. That's it. That's all you gotta do.